I'm Sammie Ellard-King. I'm a personal finance educator, really helping the average Brit learn the basics of money, all the stuff that we should have been taught in school, but we weren't. Because I always thought I'd be the 900 grand person. I always thought I'm going to be a millionaire one day, Rodney.
What was the moment at the bottom where you were like, I've got to do something here?
I was on a beach in Vietnam, paid for by a credit card. I went away with a friend of mine we call him the chairman. He's like got his shit together. He turned around to me and he said to me, like, when do you want to pass away? And I was like, what a strange question. It'd be nice to get to 80. He said, oh, when do you want to retire? I was like, 50 would be nice. And then he's like, well, that's 30 years. How much do you want to spend a year? And I said, I'll just throw a number out there. I was like, 30k. And he's like, well, that's 900 grand. Do you have that? And I was like, whoa, all right, mate. And so I came back and I dived into absolutely everything about money that I could possibly find. And luckily that moment happened for me. And luckily it happened in my mid-20s and not my late 30s, because life would be very different for me. It also hit me at that point. He said one thing that changed my life forever, and that was
Sammie, welcome to the podcast.
Mate, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I want to get straight into it. Big open question, Sammie. Who are you and what problem do you solve?
I have no idea who I am. But I will tell you. No, so I'm Sammie Ellard-King. I'm a personal finance educator, put out a lot of content on social media, really helping the average Brit learn the basics of money, all the stuff that we should have been taught in school, but we weren't. And the problem we're helping people with is just to kind of get over that hurdle, get them into saving, get them into investing, understanding that these things aren't actually that difficult. It's just how it's being sort of displayed to you, and everything's 90% in your mind, 10% theory, and the theory is actually quite simple to learn. So we try and distill it down for the everyday person. And I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a suit. I'm not a banker. I haven't gone and done a degree in this. I've learned everything that I needed to learn myself, and I just love this stuff. And so hopefully that sort of comes across in what we do.
Nice. I'm excited to get into it today.
All right.
Why, for anyone that's listening, if they're not familiar with you, why are you the best person to break down some of these theories and pieces of advice?
Because a lot of the people that will teach you as, say, financial advisors, and this is not a slight at financial advisors, they do a great job, but a lot of them haven't lived it, and I've literally made every mistake going. So my whole thesis is don't make the same mistakes that I did, and here's the better path and solution. And what a lot of people do with personal finance is they follow this kind of there is a one size fits all, and that's just not the case. And so you have to cater to someone who values £10 very differently to £1,000. They might feel exactly the same about it, but they're completely different amounts. So if you tell them that there's one size fits all solution for them, that's not going to work for the person that's in the lower end of the spectrum, and equally the higher end of the spectrum. So it's just being able to cater to that and lead into these things, and understanding that everybody's journey is completely their own. And so I always say that if you line up, if you gave everyone a 40 grand budget, let's say we've all got 40 grand and we all earn that right here, and then I said all of us go away and do a budget, every single one is going to be completely different. And I can make that number 1 billion people, and there wouldn't be one the same, down to the last pence. It just wouldn't happen. So it just means one thing, that we just all value money differently, and we all look at it in different ways. And it's just trying to guide people on the right pathway for them. And we were talking before about this, whatever I say is what works for me. So it might not work for the next person, and being accepting of that, especially when it comes to money, the conversation can get quite heated online, but that's fine. We're not there to help 100% of people. If we can help 10% of people, then our goal's been met. So that's the way we look at it.
So let's look a bit at the education system then, right? So we've all been to school, I think, maybe not very often, but I don't remember ever being taught about personal finance. I think it's one of those things that's put you out to sea, now you're making money, learn about it on the go, which sounds like maybe the path that you've been on. If you could introduce a personal finance course or bit of teaching curriculum or something, what do you think are the essential components that should definitely be in that? Yeah,
so they have changed recently, and they are going to be addressing this and putting it into schools. I have my own issues with this. I sat on the Labour committee when they discussed this. I'm not affiliated to Labour. I just went because that was the topic, and I'm really passionate about it, and that's what I do. The problem they've got, right, is that if they were to put it into the curriculum, then the teachers themselves haven't been taught them stuff themselves. So then they've then got to train the teachers. And then the second issue is like, what are they training those teachers? Because then it's coming from a government-backed thing, which I then have my own personal, like, what are you going to teach these kids? Like, what do you actually want them to know? Do they really have our best interests at heart? We don't know that. And so is anything better than nothing? Yes. But then like, that's like hundreds of millions of pounds to train these teachers. So I'm campaigning at the moment for a digital solution. I think it would be far easier to get the best minds in personal finance together and create like the ultimate online course, which gets updated and anyone can access at any point. And there's, 14 to 16, and then there's 16 to 21. Here's what you need to know. Once you leave university, here's another like section for you to go through. And it would be a lot, it would cost a few million versus hundreds of millions to then train these teachers and then keep them up to date. There's lots of charities and organisations doing this thing and like getting into it, and it's awesome, but they're never going to cover the whole UK. And, are they covering better placed schools? What happens to the schools which aren't as higher up on that list? And there's all these kind of conversations to be had about it. And so, yeah, I think a digital solution for me is like the best way of handling this, because every kid right now is just glued to a screen. That's all they know. They're digital natives, right? And then you put a teacher in front of them, which they might not necessarily get on with, or like, let's face it, like a lot of our teachers, like we were just like, yeah, whatever. And some of them we were like, they're the best teacher in the world. And you still could probably say their name now. So like, who's teaching it? How are they teaching it? It's just so many nuances to that. And I just find that really like not the best solution. We've got like AI coming. We've got like literally social media platforms which are serving up this type of content to these kids. And so I think that's where we need to address the problem.
Oh God, I'm so tired. I've just been talking to qualified prospects all day without any wait time.
How have you been doing it? Because I've been cold calling people on my mobile, and I reckon I've spoke to one person.
No. Stop that right now and use Nooks.ai.
Why? What does Nooks do?
It finds me the right people to call, and it calls them, and it connects with them over and over and over again.
So you're saying it's Nooks.ai, and I can just be speaking to qualified decision makers all the time?
No other better connection rate.
Wow, Nooks.ai.
Just sticking on that then for a second. So let's say you were trying to teach someone going into the working world about the financial opportunity and maybe climate as it is. We're obviously given these very simple news cut stories of tax the billionaire, end of world, AI's taking over. Like, what is the state of play in the UK economy at the moment?
In the UK economy? We're one of the most highest tax nations in the world. It's extremely difficult to, one, run a business, two, start a business and maintain that business. Most of them go under. That's some kind of a multitude of badly run, poor ideas, but also extremely high tax and difficult to hire people and grow and scale. And small businesses are the backbone of this economy, and they're not treated as such. Has been made worse by the current regime, and I don't really foresee that getting much better because they don't seem to understand it. And that's a worry for me. If you look at the cabinet, I think this might have changed now, but back when they were making these decisions, there wasn't one individual in the Labour cabinet that had ever run a business before or been a CEO. And I just think that's like, if you are the health minister, you should have basically worked in the NHS for 10 years as like mandatory, but you're then health minister you're a politician, you're not a health minister, but you're allowed to then govern the policies around health. Exactly the same for like money in the economy. So like, if you are the Chancellor of the Exchequer, have you worked in like capital markets or the stock, work for private institutions and banking and all these things? They haven't. And so I think there's a real disconnect there. But yeah, to sort of answer your question, I think it's tough here right now. Like, I think everybody feels like it is, right? The cost of living's gone through the roof. Like, we're all really struggling to make ends meet, and we feel like we're cutting back on the things that we would say valued were. And, we were sold a promise since the sort of late 80s, which was like, go to university, get a good job, come out of university, there's a safe job for you, safe as houses here, save for that house, get on the housing ladder, get married, have a dog, split up, get the red sports car. Like that's what was sort of sold to us. Obviously the latter part not necessarily, but like that part was sold to us. And I think that's come like in such a disconnect now. Like, both people in a household have to work to be able to afford that house, even the rent or even the mortgage. Whereas, you know, then you factor in kids into that environment and it almost becomes untenable. And a lot of people are finding it extremely difficult. So we're trying to help people. And a large part of that problem is a lot of people aren't aware of what happens with their money every single month, and they sort of live for today and not for tomorrow aspect. And that's kind of what's been forced into us, because if we're seeing all of this kind of like go away from us a little bit, like we're like, well, I'm just better off just spending that money and enjoying myself today, like, because I just, you know, tomorrow's just getting worse. Well, might as well just that people spend as quickly as they get it. And we're trying to help sort of change that and pull the power back into people's hands. And, you know, it's one step at a time.
So it feels like the first step before you even educate people, when I think about the kind of the landscape and young people at the moment, is understanding this relationship with money. And like, there will be people out there that are naturally, because of inherited from their parents, quite frugal, and there'll be some people that are more so like, you know what, it doesn't matter, let's rack up the credit cards, I'm sure I'll be a millionaire by the time I'm 40. Like, I racked up loads of credit card debt in my 20s because I thought I was going to be a famous pop star. Paid off now, but do you know what I mean? So you have these stories. So like, when you think about people's relationship with money, how does somebody understand what kind of relationship they do have with money?
Yeah, it's a tough one. So you learn your money habits by the time you're age 7, which is just mental to me. And like the psychology that you then take in, it's very influenced by your environment and what you grew up in, right? But you can obviously then influence that environment. Like, we all see stories of like the kid from a council estate that goes off to, you know, Oxford and does extremely well. So there are obviously like anomalies within that. But your relationship with money, it largely comes down to like awareness around yourself, because I'm like, I know that I'm a spender. Like, if you let me loose with £1,000, I'll find a way to blow it. So I put things in place which stop me from doing that. And likely it's exactly the inverse opposite. If you're like completely and utterly frugal and you just literally save on everything, you turn the lights off every time you leave the room, then you probably should do that. But you get what I'm saying, right? It's like baked beans for dinner because I must save everything and I must invest everything. There's people that live on that spectrum, but they're not enjoying life. So what it is finding the balance. So if you're a saver, you need to work on being able to like spend things which then provide you value. And if you're a complete spender, well, you need to put blockers in place to stop you spending money so you can keep some more of it, so you can set yourself up for future you. So it's a constant, like, I always call it like the scales. If you're like completely weighted to one side, you need to figure out the other way. But if you're right in the middle, then you should be hopefully trying to enjoy yourself with some of your money. And that's what a lot of like financial gurus do. They're like, save and invest. And it's like, yeah, cool, man. But like, I also want to go out with my mates on Friday night and have a pint. Like, can I do that? A lot of them are like, no, you know. But it's the way that it seems from their content. I'm sure they're not if you sat them down, but that's the way it comes across. And so we need to find balance. And where it's in today's day and age where it's harder, it's like asking yourself the question of like, does this provide me value? Because a lot of what we spend on, if we go into the city, we see 10,000 adverts if you use a digital device in one single day, roughly around 2,000 in a rural area, which means they're going to win eventually, right? Marketing's strong, like we all do marketing. We all know the drill. Like, the more times you show the person that individual, the more likely they are to buy. And so they're going to win eventually. So it's that value piece. Like, is somebody telling me to buy this, i.e. society or a marketing campaign? Do I actually want it? And if you do, fantastic. But largely, most of the time, it's dopamine. It makes you feel good going through the buying process. It's really interesting. 81% of people which impulse spend, so they've fed a ad, clicked on it on Instagram, gone and bought a thing, regret it the next morning. And so there was a real trigger there. It was the dopamine factor of buying it. It wasn't actually the physical thing which turned up. And I've done it. I've been, slave to this. I bought some gold Nike Air Max 97s before, and they sat in the box for like a month, and I took them back on the last day. It was like, I looked at them and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, seriously, like, I got how you see me go out in those. Like, I'd literally get rinsed the moment they're white. Yeah, I've got a full black and white. Never mind, now like change my game. You saw me in my 20s, like, it'd be very different. Like, I was flashy as hell. Pop star mentality. You're almost exactly the same. I studied music, so I get the drill. But it's like, if I hadn't have like asked myself like, do I actually want the thing? Obviously, as I said before, you're going to lose some of the battles, as I did with the trainers, but you know, if I can win more than I can lose, well, then I'm taking back some control, which is sort of taken away from us. There's so much you see on the phone at the moment, and it can be overwhelming, and people feel like they need to keep up because they see John on social media. Oh, he's just got a new Audi 25 plate. Like, oh, I should be doing that. I should be getting the 26 plate when it comes out because I've got to one-up John. And like, it's a constant status game and a battle with each other, and I feel like we're locked into that, and social media's amplified that. So awareness. So going back to your original question, is that awareness piece. Like if I can be aware of myself and the way that I am and my relationship with money, well, then I can better myself when I come out of that environment and make the decisions which are relevant for me in my life, as I said, because that personal finance is a personal aspect to it.
So it feels like you've been there and done that. So like, can you paint a picture for just before that penny drop moment where you decided, actually, I'm going to make a change, I'm going to start investing, I'm going to start thinking a little bit smarter. What was going on with you, Sammie? What was your situation?
Yeah, it's my Stephen Bartlett cry moment. No. So for real, like I was in that mentality. I went to a really good school when I was younger, and then I was moved out and put in a different school when I was 11. And when that happened to me, I had this kind of, and this is what I hark back to now, and this is like years of like actually reflecting on like, what the hell, why was I like that? And it was this like drive and need to fit in because I was very different to the kids in the second school. And so that need to fit in stemmed over into when you get loose and the fags and the 4-for-1 WKDs start dropping. You start feeling like you need to be the man showing up, and you go to university. I did music and we put on nights and played a lot of gigs ourselves. So it's like, it's kind of, you know, you felt like that need to be that kind of show. It's peacocking, right? It's what I sort of call it these days. And that was me. And, you know, I needed the nicest clothes because I thought everybody would think I was cooler, and I needed to be out on a Tuesday night because one person said, come out. And so I got swept up into that. And a lot of young people do. And it's not to say that, like, you know, don't go out and enjoy yourself, don't buy yourself nice things. But I was using credit to fund that. And so I wasn't earning much. I was buying things on credit and thinking later on I'll be a millionaire and I'll pay it off. Exactly the same mentality as you. But, you know, it got worse. It just kept getting worse. And eventually it just got to the point where about a third of my wages were going on interest payments alone. And so I was paid quite well for my age. But as I say, like I was having to like pay like £700-800 in interest alone. So I needed to get a grip on that because that was only going to grow with the mentality that I was in. And yeah, I mean, it's lonely when you're in debt like that because you don't tell anyone. Like you just sort of keep it to yourself, especially blokes as well. We do that whole like, yeah, I'm all right, mate, like I'm fine. And then eventually I sort of opened up to a friend, and it kind of gave me that permission to sort of be all right about it. And it comes back to the same point around money now. It's like you have to accept who you are because we're all different, and I'm just a nutcase spender when it comes to money. Like that's what I am. And so I have to start putting things in place. And this is not a journey that you go on where you just flick a switch and you just become a new man. Everyone thinks they can, like especially with like New Year's resolutions. They're like, tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym and like I'm going to do it every day this week. And if you put that kind of pressure on yourself, you're always going to tip over. So I think it's just being like, all right with yourself, taking a few steps forward, and then you're going to take a little step back, or you're going to go out on a big night out on a Tuesday and wax £200 and put some of it on a credit card. But as long as you're still like moving forward and it's coming down over time, then you're winning. So I think there's that to it. So yeah, that was who I was. I was like a big sort of peacocker, showing off mentality, bit of class clown. And you know, you have that moment, and it happens to some people in their 20s, their 30s, 40s. It's going to happen to you eventually. You just realize like, what the f am I doing? Like, what an idiot. Like, why am I doing this to myself? I wasn't really happy, you know, I was just sort of like putting myself out there to pretending that I was. And so, yeah, it changed my life, man. Changed my life for sure.
What was the moment at the bottom where you were like, I've got to do something here?
I was on a beach in Vietnam,
It sounds bad.
It's really fucking terrible. But I was paid for by a credit card and a payday loan to get there. I went away with a friend of mine we call him the chairman. He's like, got his shit together, basically. He knows his stuff, right? And we were sitting there pretty drunk, 2 a.m, and he turned around to me and he said to me, like, when do you want to pass away? And I was like, what a strange question. And I said, oh, yeah, it'd be nice to get to 80. He said, oh, when do you want to retire? I was like, oh, 50 would be nice. And then he's like, well, that's 30 years. How much do you want to spend a year? And I said, I'll just throw a number out there. I was like, oh, 30K. And he's like, well, that's 900 grand. Do you have that? And I was like, whoa, all right, mate. But then it also like hit me at that point, because that was my minus £24,000 moment. And I was like, well, no, like I'm actually, and that was when I sort of started to open up, and I opened up to him. And you know, he said one thing that changed my life forever, and that was that moment. And I think if I hadn't had that moment, that sort of trigger switch, because I always thought I'd be the 900 grand person. I always thought I'd somehow I'm going to get there. Like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to be a millionaire one day, Rodney. And it just wasn't the case. And so, like, I was proving that with my actions that I was going the other way. So I needed to start proving to myself that I could be this person and have a little bit of control. And so I came back and I like dived into absolutely everything about money that I could possibly find. And I found my calling a little bit with it, because I just really enjoyed it, weirdly. Like, if people would laugh you out of the room even 5 years ago that I would say that I'm doing what I'm doing now. Honestly, they really would. So, but you know, you never know where life's going to take you. And luckily that moment happened for me. And luckily it happened in my mid-20s and not my late 30s, you know, because life would be very different for me. Yeah.
So you've alluded to it a few times of like, there's not some fundamental personality change that you've gone through. You're like, I still recognise that if I had £1,000 spare, I'd spend that £1,000.
100%.
But you keep kind of alluding to, but I put things in place to stop me doing that. What are those things that you put in place, and maybe more broadly things that people can put in place to make sure they don't make mistakes?
This is my favourite topic. So the key thing is taking a breath, because of that 10,000 adverts and that impulse spending mentality and that regret factor and dopamine kicker. You can put things in place. So the first one is the 24-hour rule. So anything that's above £50, which you have been impulsively, compulsed to buy at that point, just wait, leave it in the basket. Number one is 99.99% of the time you don't want the thing in the morning. If you do, then fantastic. And the second thing is put your email in and your first name, because they will send you a discount. Every time. We know this from running funnels and all these types of things. You know, if you leave your email in there long enough, they're going to send you something. You want your customer more than not. So not only have you got it cheaper, two, you probably ticked off the fact you don't want to buy it anymore. And that really stops majority of what you can do. And the second thing is have a system for your money, and this can be set up in literally 10 minutes and you never need to worry about it again. It's called a 3-bank system. So what it is 3 different bank accounts with 3 different providers. Number one is you get paid into, and it's just a standard current account, let's call it Halifax for example right now, and you get paid into that account. And the key is the money drops into that account. Then you have a second bank and a third bank. So the second bank is where all your bills come out of and all your subscriptions, and you literally move a set amount of money over every single month, and that account draws back down to relatively near zero. If you've got variable bills, then put a little bit of contingency in there, just to make sure you don't go overdrawn or anything like that, or some of the bills don't get paid. And the third one is your savings account, and then you move that money out into your savings account, but you do that first before you pay your bills and subscriptions. And that's just called paying yourself first. You can also do it where you're paying off your debts rather than saving, if you like, and you're in debt and you want to trigger that aspect to it. And then what's left in account number one is it. It's so simple. Like, okay, I've got 600 quid left, or I've got 800 quid left. Okay, if I break that down by a week, I can spend £200 a week. If I rinse £300 this week, well, I've got £100 left less next week. And it's just so much easier that way, rather than this, like, money comes into one account, then the bill comes out on the 18th, and you're like, shit, 75 quid just come out of the account, like, we haven't got any money. Like, and it happens to so many people, and I see it all the time. And so just putting this in place works if you're in debt. It works if you've got multi-millions of pounds of net worth and everybody in between. And so it can be really powerful. Just 24-hour rule, 3-bank system will probably solve like 90% of your problems. And those are my 2 biggest things.
That's really good. So there are, and maybe we can, I don't know how much you want to, there's a camera you can point down and call people out later if you want, but there is so much financial advice out there. And I always think about this big white table as like, let's dump it all out there. I think you've got stocks and bonds, you've got like pensions, you've got cryptocurrency, you've got trading, you've got gold, you've got silver. Somebody came up on an Instagram ad the other day. So for a £1 course, I could learn how to flip houses and make £100,000 within a year. What is true and what is marketing clickbait?
Oh, good question, man. So for the vast majority of people, like, it's largely clickbait. The reason factor in is that when it comes to, let's just take investing, there's different pathways you can take. There's the set it up in 5 minutes, direct debit it into a simple like index fund, which is essentially just like a basket of stocks. People like to complicate that. It's literally what it is. It's like the top companies in the world from a particular region or even globally. That's it. You don't have to worry about it. You're like basically buying the best businesses. You can set that up in 5 minutes and go about your merry way and direct debit into it each month and just crack on. And really interestingly, that's outperforms 91% of professional investors, people with £1 billion budgets and analysts of hundreds of people, all of the computer power you could possibly imagine, and they still can't beat that. So really, like, the most boring, simple approach generally is the best approach. Or there's like the time factor in, I'm going to trade this coin, this cryptocurrency, this commodity, there's Forex, there's avenues, and you can trade by the literal like second right up to the months or even years in some cases. So it's how much time do you want to be putting into this, knowing the odds. When you become a trader, they say around 1% of people should probably trade because they have the ability to do it, and it's like learning a degree. It's extremely difficult. I don't do that because I'd be mental. I'd be there all day long, like trying to learn it. It literally takes people years and years and a lot of mistakes to get to the point where they're even able to break even, or extreme talent, right? So there's like the variables there. And when it comes to property, they say put £1 in and do it with no money and all of these things. The fact is, a lot of people don't factor in time to that. Flipping a house, doing it up, there's levels of risk, just like there is with even index funds when it comes to investing. So how much time are you willing to put into it? How much risk are you willing to take? Because all of the avenues which you just mentioned can make money. It's just, 1 is timing, 2 is knowledge, and 3 is like how much risk you are taking. And so often a good approach is like, ask yourself what you're wanting to get out of it. If it's property and you just absolutely obsessed with property and that's what you want to do, then great. Like, it's a great investment vehicle if you learn how to do it and understand the risks that are attached to it. But if you just want to like invest a bit of your money here and there so you have something for when you retire, well, your time is better spent getting better at your job and putting more into that, because you can just move the wheel, as we discussed, like almost exactly the same as someone who's like trying to learn trading and putting all this time and effort. And like a lot of people invest because their mate Dave down the pub's told them some new biotech company is going to cure cancer, right? And guess what happens? That doesn't happen, and they lose money because their mate Dave isn't a biotech knowledge. Yeah. He has none.
He's a wanker.
He's a wanker. He's 2 pints of Guinness deep. Like, it's not like happening for him. He's learned it off some blog article that he's sort of found online, right? So who are you taking advice from? What do you actually want to get out from it? Because all of it can be the right vehicle for you, just where you need to go in life and how much effort you want to put into it.
A bloke stopped me in the street the other day and screamed, "Where?" And I thought he was trying to get to the nearest dry cleaners, but he wasn't. Do you know what he was saying? He was saying, "Where?"
Do you get your hair cut?
No, he wasn't.
Because you'd sue them.
Thank you. Where do you get your data when cold calling?
Oh, and what did you tell them?
Well, I told him I know a little place where it's 98% accurate.
You didn't know how to spell it, did you?
I didn't know how to spell it. It was Prospeo.
Prospeo, that's P-R...
O-S-P-E-O.
Oh, .io.
.io, Prospeo. If you are looking to get stronger contact data for finding your dream clients, that's Prospeo.io. So I want to get your opinion on this, because I've seen so many podcasts about it and I actually can't make up my mind yet. But if we go down the path of buying a house, okay?
Yeah.
So the dream was, like you said, the 80s, like work really hard, buy a house. So we've been running a business for many years. I've got to a position where I finally bought a house, got a lovely kitchen. Got a lovely kitchen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. And I got my. I've been in there 2 years now, and I got my mortgage statement through. And I won't say how much the house is worth, but it's
It lives in a nice area.
big
Multi-mills.
It's in Manchester.
Yeah, multi-mills.
But basically, for every £3, £1 goes off the house and £2 goes off the interest. I said that to Zach, and Zach said, "Well, at least you can smoke inside." And I said, "But I don't smoke, so I don't really get it." So I've now got this house. That sounds very similar to the interest on your credit card, but I've got this house, which is great, but I'm paying off, like, it's going to take 35 years and I'll pay off millions of pounds to get there. Should I have just kept renting?
Let me ask you a question.
Please.
So when you purchased that house, if somebody asked you how much did you get that house for, what do you say? The amount.
Yeah, the amount I bought
Right?
it for.
Yeah. You don't say the amount plus the amount I'm
yeah.
actually going to pay for it, because no one does that. So they all assume that it costs X, Y, and Z, but they don't run the numbers. And the crazy thing about buying a house is that you've got probably double the amount in interest in most cases, so give or take, leeway here or there of a couple of basis points, right? And then you've got maintenance. You've got the fact that you need to buy all the furniture. You've got the fact that probably your other half in 10 years is going to go, "I'm really tired of this kitchen."
10 years? I had that in 3 weeks. And it was a lovely kitchen.
I was being nice. Like we just moved house, right? We walked in and my other half just went like, "I don't like any of this." I'm like, "Okay, so we're painting the whole house." Okay, cool. And so we have, right? And that costs money. Like, that's money that's gone into the house. But if someone said to you, "How much you buy the house?" you go, X, Y, and Z. So you don't add all of these things into the play. You don't look at it over a 35-year period. And yes, people will be like, "But what about the increase of the house, Sammie?" I'm like, yes, it increases in value if you buy in a good area, if the housing market continues to perform at its current levels, which is not guaranteed. And so you're buying your house is not an investment. It never has been. It's just a store of value, essentially. When you work it out, you can make money in some instances, but especially if you build the extension, flip it, sell it, do all those values. Yes, those use cases exist, but for the large amount of people, they end up either breaking even over a long period of time because of the amount they spent on it, or they make a touch more money. Now, really interestingly, if you manage to keep your rent low, but you invested that same amount of money, historically, there's not a guarantee again of like future performance on investments, because it's just impossible to say what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Like last year is very different to this year. We all know that, right? But historically, investing has massively outperformed owning your own home and using it as an investment vehicle. Now, there are other avenues with that, buying in a low cost area, renting that place out, doing the work on it, increasing the value, extracting that value, and growing a property portfolio. There are those aspects to it. But there is no wrong or right answer when it comes to renting or buying, because both have their own aspect of risk associated to it. You've got opportunity cost by the fact that you're buying that house. It provides you security on the other spectrum in some factors. And then renting, it's like your landlord could put the rent up. Your investments could go down. But if you look at the numbers over the years, it's night and day versus in renting and investing. In most cases, in the average cases, renting and investing beats buying. But then you do have the asset at the end. So that's something you have to factor in. So there's just no right answer. So I own my own home, just for context. I don't rent and invest. I don't do that. I want the store of value in my own house. and I will actively try and overpay my mortgage. There's some fantastic apps out there that help you overpay your mortgage, by the way, when you're shopping. There's things like Sprive, which is amazing. And then, you know, you've got your money going into that, and you've got your money going a little bit into your investments as well. So you can do both. There's no wrong or right answer. People just have to know their numbers, because as I was saying before, like buying the house, it doesn't always add up when you look at it. And we've done videos about this, and people still, even with the numbers like literally in front of them, a multitude of different examples, will be like, but buying beats investing because you're paying somebody else's mortgage. I'm like, you just didn't listen, did you? You just didn't listen.
The bit.
Yeah. Because it's not me trying to say that either is right or wrong, or like you should. And we're obsessed with property in the UK. We're obsessed with it. And I just think people need to know both spectrums before they open that decision to themselves. That some people prefer it and they want that home. And I get that, because some people want to knock down walls and do up the kitchen. You can't do that in a rental. And your landlord could put the rent up by 500 quid, and there's not really much you can do about that. But, you know, it's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game. You weigh it up either side.
You touched on apps then.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good tools out there, maybe some bad tools, but from your standpoint, what are the ones you'd recommend, and for what purposes? Come on.
Gains.
Come on. See how I did it?
Yeah, you did it. Appreciate it. No, look, we're building something, but I'll touch on ones that exist now, because we've got our wait list open. But if anybody wants to join it, when's this coming out, guys? Do you know? A few weeks.
Yeah, there's a bit of a backlog, but we can work it out.
We might be live.
We might be live. Put us to the front of that waiting list. I'll have a chat about it.
Look, gainsapp.com. Go there. If we're live, download it. If not, join the wait list. You get something for joining. That's easier, isn't it? Yeah, sweet. But look, the apps that exist out there, as I said before, like automating as much as you possibly can with this. I'm obsessed with Monzo, because they have something called pots. So pots is just class, right? Because you can split them up. So I name mine Christmas. I've got the FU fund in there. FU money, super important, like personal. If something goes wrong, I've got a bit of cash knocked aside. Holidays, all of those, and all of my pots earn interest. And let's say I just pop £200 in my Monzo account, it knows that it's taken 40 quid in that one, 30 quid in that one, 20 quid in that one, and all those pots earn interest. So it's such a nice way of like covering what the costs happen every single year, because like Christmas is happening whether you like it or not. Your mum's 47th birthday or 67th birthday is happening whether you like it or not. And what we do usually as humans is that we let those come. That's why we all feel it in January, right? But what if you made a plan for Christmas and next year you're not like going, oh my God, how are we going to pay for this? Or I better get out of credit. And you're back round you go again, right? So just popping a small percentage of your money away for the yearly costs happening all the time into things like Monzo pots is class. So I love Monzo. When you can and you can use credit cards responsibly, like they're an amazing tool to get free travel and stuff. So I build up points that we paid for Australia. We went. My mum's out there now. And 2 sisters live out there. So we went out there and like, literally paid for our flights with points. A couple hundred quid I think we paid in cash. You know, these are £2,000 flights. I'm not flying business class yet, unfortunately, lads. But yeah, it's expensive, right? And that was paid through credit card spending. So if you're bad with credit cards, a good way of doing it is putting like one subscription on a credit card and actually like cutting it up, because you've like already put it on it, and then you just direct debit that out of that second bank account that we spoke about earlier. So you're still getting the points and using the credit, which improves your credit score, but you don't have the card on your Apple Pay or in your pocket for you to like whack on it. So you can still like do that. And then as you get better over time, you can put 2 subscriptions, 3 subscriptions, and then you slowly build it up. Like now I'm like 90% of my spending goes on my credit card, because I just want to build the points. So I know the value of it, and I just make sure that I'm not like rinsing it. So that's a like amazing way. There's some fantastic cards out there. You know, Amex is good, Chase, all of these things. Just check them out. There's different rewards for different ones. Some give you cash back, some give you points. I prefer the points because I use them for travel. And then we're building gains as well, which is basically the problem that exists right now is that, actually I'm really interested to know, how many banks do you have?
Does Plum count?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2. Interesting. Yourself?
3.
3.
I got Plum, and then Abbey National. You know
Santander.
Santander. And Halifax as well. And I've got an American Express.
I've got an American Express as well.
There you go. Okay, so yeah, it does.
Oh, I've
yeah.
got 3 then.
So cards and things.
And we've got 2 or 3 in the business, haven't we?
And then the business.
We've got quite
sorry,
a lot of
Jack.
bankers. Sorry, we got a lot.
Got a few then.
You were just quite quick to answer. You didn't think the answer through.
I'm not very good at maths, that's why you're here.
Yeah, no, I'm terrible at this. The average person has 3.2. So, like, to know what's going on in all of them, you got to log in, look at the statements, maybe even like print that statement out, like understand it. It's a nightmare, right? And you might spend with a joint account, you might not, with your other half, you might have your personal ones and your personal card and the joint cards, and it all just gets a little bit messy. There's nothing really that exists where you can pull out all of that environment into one space and see exactly what's happening across all your bank accounts, be able to separate your joint and your personal finances with your own budgets. And then we've built AI financial coaching, which will analyze your spending and then find you ways to save money. So if you shop in Tesco, it's going to know that about you, and it's going to feed you the discount codes for Tesco.
Oh, nice.
Next time you go in there, you can buy what's called an instant gift card, and you get, say, 4 to 6% off your Tesco shop every time you do that. And you can build that balance up and then withdraw that money or not, or move it into savings accounts. So what we're building is basically the way of, like, you can walk down the street and you can say to the app, hey, how much have I spent on takeaways? And it's going to go, you spent £49.50 last week. You could tell it to roast you, and it might call you a fat fucker after. It's not necessarily like going to say that, but the idea is that basically you can, the questions that you would like to ask around your money that you usually just bury your head in the sand because it's long to go on like 4 apps, you can just ask it, and it's going to give you the picture across them all, and it's going to find you good, cool ways to save. So that's Gains app and what we're building at the moment. And so really the flip is, like, if your food shop's gone up by 4%, but we can give you 4% back on your shopping, well, then your food shop hasn't gone up in price. And so everybody's worrying about the cost of living, and we can essentially beat the cost of living by putting that money back in people's pockets. And that's really where the apps sort of come from.
I'm not just saying this, I was literally looking for something like this on the weekend.
Nice.
Just moved house in the last few months, and I was like, I need to get my head around what's happening with all the different money moving in and out. And I was like, there must be an app that connects it all up and I can just understand it all in one place, but there isn't. It's quite a weird, there's stuff that tracks, like, oh, you've got an extra tenner here, let's chuck that into, but there's nothing that would give you the overview of, like, iceberg ahead, like, plan ahead for this. So
yeah. And seeing your spending as well is, like, mental. So, like, a lot of us, what we don't do is it's really interesting. Have you come across Damien Talks Money before?
Yeah.
Brilliant personal finance YouTuber, recommend him to everyone. Good friend of mine, lovely chap. But he did a video yesterday. It was really interesting. Like, he was like, "Oh yeah, you would think that I'm like the picture of like personal finance god and investing all my money and saving it here and there." And then I printed out my bank statements and I realised that I've been to Greg's 45 times in 3 months. So it's like, you don't know, like, your bank statement, where you've actually spent money is the real you, even though you're telling yourself something completely different. Because you do that thing where you're in the morning and you just sort of, I'm going into this shop and I'm going to spend my money, and that didn't happen in your head. You're like, I haven't spent any money in that place. And then you look at it, you're like, yes. So, but the app doesn't judge you, and that's what's really key. A lot of the apps out there that exist, they've got these like big like red things. They're like, you have done bad in this area. You're like, what are you doing? And then our app will just be like, yeah, mate, you might have like kind of overspent a touch there, but you have some space here. Or would you like us to figure out a way of like making these things cheaper for you? Yes, cool. Well then, like, here's the ways. And it's totally personalized to you. So like, your experience with some of the apps out there is like, here is basically a spreadsheet on a mobile phone with some fancy like colors and making it look nice. It doesn't like personalize it to your own individual like circumstances. And so if you're super into your fitness and I'm not, and I'm obsessed with, mountain biking or whatever, it's going to understand that about you and not judge you if you're like putting £100 extra into fitness or mountain biking or food or whatever's important to you. So it learns that about you over time. You get smarter.
Nice. I'm sold. I'm in.
It's sweet. It's free as well, guys, as well. So like, we make money because we partner with the retailers. And that's the way how we make money. So we can give you that service for free.
Nice.
And obviously there is a premium element to it, but it's essentially allowing you to just connect more banks than one. We actually allow 2 on the free plan, and then any more will give you access to a few wider, a few smarter, more in-depth tools if you're a like geeky budgeter and stuff like that. So for 90% of people, it's completely free.
Nice. So I'd imagine if someone's listening to this now, they're probably in a similar spot trying to get their head around finance.
Yeah.
And maybe in doing that, they're also thinking about potential risks and opportunities that are coming. And it feels like AI is probably one that we wish we could see around the corner on.
I knew you would ask this.
What are your views on AI? How are you thinking about it?
It's really interesting. So on the way up here, I had a 2-hour drive. I spent an hour and a half with Chris and my team talking about like how I've been down a rabbit hole for the past like 3 weeks. I've done multiple 4-hour podcasts with all the geekiest nerds in AI going, from Elon to Claude CEO and Sam Altman, all these people, right? And what I've come to sort of realize is that the world is going to look fundamentally different no matter what we might let ourselves think like in the next 5 years. Right? It's going to be completely different. And so I'm struggling at the moment. I'm not 100% sold on this, but I'm struggling to see how, if you're in your 30s or 40s, that a pension makes any sense. And that's quite a big statement, but the reason for that is that money is right now, and that may change if everything starts to go nuts, but that right now that money's locked up until you're 57. It's 55 right now, it's rising to 57 in 2028. But if it's locked up and I need it because the world's gone nuts, like that worries me a touch. And so people are, Chris and my team is like, well, what do you tell people to do? Well, the fact is the stocks and shares ISA is flexible. You can take your money out tomorrow. So if you start seeing things go tits up and you want to try and grab your money out of your investments and pull it out, you can. So it's way more flexible. It's less tax efficient than a pension, yeah, but it's not locked up. So I'm steering a little bit. I'm playing around with this a little touch right now, and where do I think what people should do? And I can't give a solid answer, but I know it's not. We can't think in 10 years like we used to in 2000s and even the 90s. We can't think in that realm because it's going to be quick and it's going to be violent. So I'm planning in like 2-3 year increments now rather than thinking 20, 30 years out for my future, because I just don't think that that's kind of an acceptable thing to sort of teach people. And granted, that's exactly what we have been doing until literally this conversation today with Chris and my team. So this is hot off the press. But I just think it's going to be quick, and I think we have to be prepared. I think we have to have a little bit of cash aside that's liquid, things that have value. People may argue on the gold aspect, people might argue on the Bitcoin aspect, and I don't give an answer on that. Like, I don't think there's a right answer to this. I just think think about it. And learn about it, because we were talking about this earlier as well, like learn about this stuff, because it's going to happen and it's going to happen fast. And so, I am a little bit worried about like longer term, but so I think people should shorten their time horizon when they're thinking about making decisions. I don't think people should take on big debt and big projects like over the next, if you're getting in there now, then fine, but certainly in the next couple of years, just be a bit careful about what sort of pressure you're going to put yourself under financially and what you owe people, because if they're predicting half the jobs, 50% of white collar work like gone in the next 18 months, which is quite scary. That's like billions of people. So if that happens, like where are, this isn't the Industrial Revolution. This isn't the internet where people could just reshift. This is like total eradication of that work. And so if that happens, we just got to be a bit more careful around that. And I know it's sort of doomsday prophecy stuff, and no one likes hearing that, but I just think we just got to be really careful over the next sort of 24 months about what we take on and where we put our money.
Our books are now open. If you are sat there wondering where your next sale is going to come from, wondering why your pipeline isn't full of meetings with qualified decision makers, look no further, because the We Have a Meeting team has got you covered. Just go to www.wehaveameeting.com.
Speaking of books, if you are looking to get better at sales, communication, and making more money, our book, Sales is Therapy, is available on Amazon now. I've listened to so many podcasts where people are saying don't have children for the next 5 years. And I think we're 6 kids deep between us. So
Fair play.
We're fucked. So you've kind of alluded to it there, Sammie. So you said like have a little bit of money set aside because we do have this future looming where we actually don't know. And then you mentioned earlier FU money, which I believe stands for, to the camera, fuck you money. I think that's right. How much, or you said like have something, so like got something of value, gold, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like what, in your opinion, how much should people be having set aside, and how long should they be prepared for?
Yeah, so my initial thing is like that security element. That emergency fund is the most important part of personal finance. Everybody is so boring. People hate talking about it, but honestly, everyone that I've ever spoken to that has gone and done it feels like complete relief. And right now it's because they can bat off pretty much anything that happens to them. Someone drives into your car, drives off, you can pay for it. Your roof caves in, you can pay for it. Your boss calls you an arsehole in front of everyone and you think, I'm done. Well, I can leave and that toxic boss is no more. I can bat off anything for 3 months. Now, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And that isn't like what you get paid. People confuse that. Some people like building to that, and I get that. That's fine. But for me, it's like if I stopped Uber Eats and getting expensive X, Y, and Zs or these types of things, what could I really live off? So all my bills are paid off and my family's covered and kids can eat and all of those types of things. What's that number? And then times that by 3 and work to that first. That's the first bit to get to, and just get that stashed away in an easy access, high interest saving account, which you can, go and get tomorrow if you need it. That's like the number one thing I think people should do with personal finance in any way, for shape or form, is just get that emergency fund together. And then, you might, different finance people will argue against this, but I have a little bit of Bitcoin. I have a little bit of physical gold. I'm not a millionaire. A couple of £100 here and there is a start, right? To start with what you can, and again, there's no right or wrong answer to like how much should be in certain aspects into you. You just got to be comfortable with your decisions. But if you're only saving and you're not investing, or you're only buying gold or only buying Bitcoin, well then you're very reliant on that one individual thing. So putting fingers in pies is a good place to go. Sort of diversification, essentially.
Sammie, I've absolutely loved this conversation. It's given me so much food for thought, and like I'm feeling like I don't need a new year to start getting better with money. So thank you. You've inspired me. We always ask one last question for the audience. If someone's listened to the full conversation, what's one question you'd like to leave them with?
Question for them?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I think ask yourself like the last thing you bought, whether or not it really lit you up, and just like unpack that feeling inside yourself. Just ask yourself that question, and it can be as simple as like, I spent £4 on a coffee when I had a coffee machine at home. But if that coffee lit you up and that was your best moment of your day, well then great. But if not, unpack why. And if it did, unpack why too. And then the next time you do that, ask yourself the same question and keep asking yourself that question. Every time you buy it, just take a little moment and be in control, and it really helps.
Great question. Thank you so much for joining us. If people want to find you, follow you, get gained, how do they go about that?
Yeah, gainsapp.com. Definitely come check us out there. We also have Up the Gains Money, which is our social media channels where we do sort of break down personal finance stuff, much less boring than me on a long form podcast. We put bangers on the back, hip hop tunes and 70s funk classics and stuff. So we have a lot of fun there. But also on upthegains.co.uk, we have about 300 free guides. So pretty much if you think about anything with money, we've probably covered it in some form. And if not, tell us and we'll write it. So yeah, appreciate it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sammie.
Thanks, man.